Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be servicing the 2019 Toyota CHR oil filter, oil, spark plugs and air filter. I think I said that. No fuel filter, it's a lifetime filter in these. And then at the end I'm going to be resetting the service light, which has elapsed about 2,000 miles now, so it's a bit overdue. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to start upstairs with the bonnet open, and I'm going to just change this air filter before we do anything. So first thing, I'm going to pop the MAF wiring loom off, and then I'm going to take that. There's a little trim clip under there. Might be able to see. I'll probably need two hands to pop it out. I'm going to get that wiring just off the top of this air box now. So that's out the way. Now there's a clip down here, and it looks like it should just scoot out the way, which it did. And now pull out your old filter, compare it to the new filter. New one's on the top. Can't really tell much of a difference, but that one's slightly darker. And just pop it back into place. Once it's seated nicely back in there, pop the two tabs into the hole, and then just use the two clamps then to clamp the box back down, which I'll need two hands for. So she's clamped in by there. Pop this popper back into the hole, and then wait for the click, and the MAF is reinstalled. And that is how easy it is to change your air filter. Moving on to the spark plugs now. Looks like we gotta get this 10mm off, and then you've got 4 10mm for the coil packs with the wiring connected to it there. So we'll need to unplug the wiring and take off those 10mm. So let's see. So upon further inspecting, there's also a tab here to disconnect. There's also a little tab here to disconnect from that holder there. I disconnected, I believe this is the high pressure fuel pump. There's a plug just on the back there, and then there's this blue connector here for, it's probably a cam sort of sensor, something like that. And then that should give you all the access you need then for the 4 coil packs there. So I've unplugged them already. They only go sort of one way really. So I'm going to get the 10mm on all of these now. So I've lined up the coil packs there in the order they came out. And what you'll need next is a spark plug socket. Basically there's some little claws in the bottom of this one, and it holds the spark plug as you're pulling it out of the hole. And so that's the only special tool you really need for the spark plugs. You can do it with a magnet and just a normal socket, but it's always good to have the right tool. And that should be the spark plug out there, and we'll check it to the new ones we got. Now I've got the Bosch on the left hand side there. These are the new plugs, and I've got NGK. I think they're the original ones that came with the car. Same thread pitch, everything like that. And that's pretty much it. You can have issues with certain spark plugs, but I've never really had a problem with Bosch. So just make sure you get the right spark plugs for the car. With spark plugs, I like to just start them all off by hand, just to make sure they're the sort of right thread pitch. You don't want to force anything into the wrong thread, especially when it's going into the head of the engine. So I like to just do it as far as I can with my hand, and then I'll just give it a nice nip up with the ratchet. And that is one done. So I always advise just to do one at a time, so you don't have all 4 holes open and susceptible to sort of dirt falling in the holes, etc. And definitely don't use any power tools whatsoever when taking out the spark plugs or putting them back in. There's just no need for them really. So once all 4 are replaced and tightened, now just do the reverse and put all your coil packs back in the way they came out, and then plug all the wiring back in the way it was. Now take a minute out and make sure you've plugged everything back in. Make sure you've checked all the connections, everything's clicked back in, as you don't want to go to start up and you've got a misfire or it not start at all. And we have taken a couple of wires off, so just double check you have put everything back together as it was. And that's your spark plugs. Right, now it's time to get it up in the air on the front end, so I'm going to get 2 axle stands and jack it up, and we'll empty the oil into an oil pan. Right, so we're up on stands up in the air. Now this is the service sort of window for 10 mils. Take them out, and that should give us access to the oil filter and the drain plug. And there we have it. I took out the 3 bolts, and then the 4th one I just loosened off and just hung it out the way. It's probably lazy of me, but it is what it is. Maybe smart, I don't know, work smarter not harder, innit? So we got our oil filter there, and we got our drain plug there, 14 mil. And a fun fact that I'm not sure if it's true, but apparently the Japanese believe that the number 13 is unlucky, so you won't find a 13 mil bolt on a Toyota. Not sure how true that is, but that's a 14 mil drain plug. So we're going to start with the drain plug, and then we're going to work our way onto the oil filter. As you can see, this oil is still a pretty nice colour, and that is how your oil should look when you're servicing it. You don't want it completely black, that means you cook the oil completely. Yeah, we're going to clean this off now. There's still, see that washer there, we need to get that crush washer off. So it's been about 5 minutes now. The oil's nearly drained all the way out. I'm going to get that oil filter off. I've got these pliers here, which basically just clamp on to the oil filter just to spin it off. It should only be on there like hand tight really, but some of them are a pain. If you don't have the tool to get it off, just hammer a screwdriver through the filter and just lever it with the screwdriver that you've poked in there. But do it towards the back, as sometimes there's a thread nearer the base of the oil filter. So just do it in the middle or towards the back, and just stab it through, hammer it through, and just crank it off like that, and that works as a last resort. And that is the thread that I was on about. So yeah, definitely do it towards the back if you need to. You should be able to get a pair of pliers like that pretty cheap. But yeah, we're just gonna keep letting that drain as much as it wants, and then we'll put the plug in with the new washer back on. Right, so she's pretty much drained now. I've got my drain plug with a new copper washer. I've taken the old one off, and yeah, we're just gonna tighten this back up and then install the new oil filter. So before installing, I just got a bit of oil on my finger and just rubbed it around the seal, and now I'm just gonna pour a bit of oil into the filter, only about halfway, and spin it back on. And last thing was clean it all off with some brake cleaner, which I've just done, and now reinstall the bolts. And that oil filter I just put on as tight as I could with my hand, and now bolts back in for this cover. Right, next I've taken out the dipstick and I've cleaned it off, taken off the oil cap which is on the top here, and it's going to be 3.9 litres to about 4 litres of oil. So I'm going to start with 3.5, start the car, turn it off, check my dipstick, and then top up. Right, so oil cap back on. Just gonna put it to the first position a sec. Hopefully she starts up first time. We've done everything properly. Clutch in. Now I'm just gonna run this for about 10 seconds, and then turn it off and check the oil level. Seems to be running right. That's what I'm going to reset in a second. Oil maintenance required. Visit your dealer. Alright, turn it off. Everything sounds nice. Spark plugs are working. And I'm about 3/4 of the way up to the full sort of maximum mark. So I'm just going to give it a couple drops and we're done. Happy with that. Just below. And it is golden. Before we reset the maintenance, just check for any leaks. That is important. Make sure you've tightened everything down as it should be. Make sure that your oil cap is back on properly, your dipstick's in properly, and then what I do is just bit of brake cleaner, spray it around where you've worked. Maybe you spilled a bit of oil, clean that up, and now it's time to reset the service. Okay, so key into the ignition position, mind the beeping, and we want to put it onto trip A. So you see there, trip A. Oh, where's that gone? Visit your dealer, yeah. Trip A, there we go. So then it's key out. And then what I'm going to need to do is get two hands. And you see the trip button here. Hold the trip button whilst you put the key back into the ignition slot. Let me see if I can get this on record. I'm going to hold it with my pinky on the trip button. And then key back in. Resetting oil maintenance data. And then it's done. Finger off. Good as gold. So we'll take that back out. It shouldn't say minus 2000 now. Sorry about the camera work, guys. There we go, 9999. All done. And it's as simple as that. Most expensive part was those spark plugs. They were £15.50 each. That's UK, of course. And the whole kit cost me £97.70, and that was just from a Motor Factors. I didn't go to Toyota. But by all means, sometimes Toyota are quite good with their service deals. I think they're around 100 quid. I think I got with spark plugs for Toyota Hilux before, which was a very good deal. No real notes afterwards, just make sure everything's connected as it should be. Everything's tightened up. Obviously I don't have the specs, but I just do everything by hand. We're not dealing with bloody head bolts or anything like that. It's not rocket science. Just don't over tighten them, and obviously don't leave them loose. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope this helps someone. Peace.